You dread filing your tax returns online. You get annoyed when the government takes a chunk of your paycheck. But the worst-case scenario for missing a deadline today is usually a strongly worded letter, a late fee, or a hit to your credit score. You are a distant descendant with a snack addiction and a mild caffeine dependency. You only exist today because your ancestors survived an era where taxes were a matter of violent coincidence and stubborn biology. The ancient world faced a massive logistical problem. Empires demanded strict tax quotas to fund their expansion, but the peasants living in the dirt had no physical coins to give them. Without gold, governments turned to physical currencies. They extracted payment through humiliation, forced labor, and human lives to satisfy the state's hunger for resources. For most of human history, a tax deficit was an immediate physical threat to your bodily autonomy and your survival. In 17th century Russia, Emperor Peter the Great launched a campaign to forcefully modernize his citizens' appearance, targeting the massive traditional beards of the Russian people. To keep your beard, you had to pay a specific tax and carry a small copper token to prove you had purchased the legal right to have facial hair. If a guard caught you without that token, they would pin you down and dry shave you right there in the street. In medieval Europe, poverty offered no escape. You shared a single room with your family and a pig, eating bread hard enough to crack a skull. Since you lacked coins, the local lord drafted your physical body for corvée labor. You were forced to leave your own farm to drag stones, clear swamps, or build castle walls for free until your spine gave out. Poverty didn't protect you. It just meant the government taxed your sweat and your brittle bones instead of your wallet. In ancient Rome, the towering ruins of the Forum represent an empire that demanded absolute financial loyalty from even its poorest farmers. You dealt with a publicanus, private tax collectors who bought the legal right to extract wealth from your region at an auction. This was a business. Once the publicanus met the government's quota, every extra cent squeezed out was pure profit. If you couldn't pay, they could beat you, seize your property, or sell your children into slavery to balance the books. Systemic extortion was a lucrative industry where human trafficking functioned as a standard accounting solution. In the 13th century, a cloud of dust on the horizon meant you had minutes to live. The Mongol Empire had arrived. Genghis Khan used taxes as a weapon of conquest, demanding extreme economic tribute in exchange for not destroying a city. Failing to pay meant the Mongols would wipe your city off the map, slaughter the population, and use any survivors as human shields in their next battle. This wasn't just warfare, it was the ultimate, deadliest form of tax enforcement. It wiped out roughly 10% of the entire world's population. At its most extreme, falling behind on your dues resulted in the total eradication of entire societies. For centuries, taxes were paid in flesh, through shaved hair, broken bones, trafficked children, and mass slaughter. Modern economics successfully moved the burden of default away from our physical bodies and onto our digital bank accounts. While the IRS is annoying, a bureaucratic tax system is a monumental upgrade in human rights. A modern financial penalty is a luxury. Be grateful that your debt is settled with paper and not with your life. The next time a late fee ruins your day, remember that the alternative used to be an ancient tax collector eyeing your firstborn. Be glad your debt is only a number on a screen.